Introduce you to the next phase of our program. If you are looking at your program, I will ask you to note the following changes. We're going to shift a few panels to make sure that the panelists that we wished you to hear and to have let speak will be able to accommodate their flight and travel schedules. So what we're going to listen to now, the panel that will come immediately, will be hosted by a gentleman by the name of Bas Godska, and he will be joined on stage by Elena Masolova, a gentleman by the name of Fabio Cannavale, and Mr. Mike Butcher, and Mr. Honor Gunday. May I please ask these gentlemen to come to the stage now. And they will be addressing the topic of copycats as to whether it's productive, whether it's a good idea to build them or not to build them. And I believe you will find their topic or their information on this subject most interesting. So gentlemen, may I please ask you to join us here on stage. Hello, okay.
Copycats.
Elena Masolova, are you here? Okay. And
That's a quick and that's a quick one. My name is Bas Godska. I'm founder of Google and worked at Ozon.ru in Russia and at Orbitz eBookers, marketing director Europe in Europe. And we're waiting for some candidates who are now getting their headsets. Thanks for introducing us.
Certainly.
Hi. I'll be the moderator. I've heard that 5 minutes ago.
while we're waiting, Baz, maybe you could introduce yourself a little bit about your, and speak a little bit about the panelists that will join you, and just to give the background while we're waiting for them, just of the, the individuals that will join you, perhaps.
So, well, let's start with you. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how many times in your life you've come across some copycat stuff on your own business?
I'm Fabio Cannavale. I'm an entrepreneur in Switzerland and Italy. Our main site is a travel site, and we are the market leader in Italy and in Switzerland to sell flights. And we are thinking now to open a joint venture in Russia and Ukraine to import the business here. And I am also investor, and we did the 2 IPO in Italy of Yux, that is a fashion company that selling online fashion stuff. And that was not a copycat because it's let's say some original idea. And the other one is Multi Online, that is mortgage online.
What? Sorry?
Mortgage and online. So to get money for private people to buy houses. So I can bring you here my experience being, let's say, in Southern Europe, where we are let's say, later than US in the development of internet. Basically, we had the same, let's say, occasion and experience that you have now, I think, here. So, at the end, when I started the business of Bravofly, basically we copy Kajak. So our first idea was to have a place for Southern Europe where there was low-cost flights, where you could very easily find all the flights. Then I think the important lesson is that you have to adapt at your own market. Because, for example, in our case, we couldn't copy exactly the same model of aggregator, because in our markets there was no site where we can sell the advertising. So instead of having a pure aggregator model, we have developed a travel agency. So we copy from one side from the best art in US, trying to do all the features and whatever is the state of the art. And from the other side, we implemented what was necessary to have success in our market, where there was not easy to sell the advertising to the airlines because they didn't want to buy, but was much easier to sell the ticket directly to the final customer.
Thanks a lot for that. All right, now that the rest of the members of the Copycat squad have joined us, let's start with the lady in our group, Elena. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I'm the founder and investment director of AddVenture Fund. We invested in 11 companies, and actually the fun thing is that all the most successful companies are copycats. And I can't see anything bad in this, because actually as an investor you see proven, already successful business model, you see the blank huge market in front of you, no one there, and you just launch a company. As an entrepreneur, not as an investor, I launched in March this year, I launched Dabbery.ru, which was Groupon clone. And in August we sold to Groupon. This was a very huge deal, I think one of the most successful in the latest 5 years in Runet. I promised that Groupon Russia will reach 1 million revenue in 1 month by December, and now I can definitely say that this will happen even faster. So the business is growing like mad, and again, there's nothing bad in this. You see the proven business model and you just do the same.
So you're a big fan of the copycat model from an investor point of view?
It's not a must, but as an investor, as an entrepreneur, when you see the business model which is clear, all the elements are clear, then the question is only in execution. So you go and make it.
And last quick question before I go to Mike. Do you see this as something that is inside a particular region, that it should be a copycat model, or would you see it as a global approach?
I think this is the limitation, yes, because you can't, at least it's a lot harder to launch a global company, so it's mostly limited by region. But example with City Deal shows that the region can be as huge as Europe, because City Deal was European clone of Groupon, and Groupon bought it in March.
Okay. Mike, you're from TechCrunch. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself, if your microphone works?
Hello. Hello everyone, how are you? I'm Mike Butcher from TechCrunch. I edit TechCrunch Europe. And we just broke a story about Groupon and Yahoo. Did you hear it? I just wrote a story saying that Groupon has signed a global distribution with Yahoo. So if you want to go and look at techcrunch.com, I just wrote it while I was sitting at the back. I would say that just to answer your question, it's absolutely stupid to do a global clone. You can't do it. So it has to be a regional thing. And second of all, and this is going to be my position on the panel, everybody, so get ready. Second of all, although I think that there is a position for the clone markets in clones in Europe, and I think that if you look at the trajectory and the history, the arc of history of technology startups in Europe over the last few years, what you can see is that people can go for early home runs, like little small home runs, can do a clone, do an exit, do another clone, do another exit, but you've got to look at, is the wealth being distributed amongst the startup teams to the right extent? Is this creating an ecosystem which is sustainable? I would hazard not. And secondly, what are you passing on to your ecosystems and your countries if all you do is clones? Then what are you passing on? You're passing no innovation, no attitude to create new products. You're basically looking to the Americans to come up with new ideas, and let's face it, they don't come up with all the good ideas, do they? Do they? Anybody agree or not? Do the Americans come up with all the good ideas, yes or no?
No, not all of them.
Well, there you go, exactly.
That's what I heard in this.
You don't have to think all the time about clones. You can think in innovative ways. Europe is full to brim with fantastic engineering talent, increasingly amazing entrepreneurs, as we can see here today. So I think that there are other ways to go ahead on this. So that's my position.
Thank you very much, Mike. Could you please introduce yourself?
Sure. Should I use this or should I use?
I think it Is it working?
I think it's working, yeah.
Copy.
So I'm the CEO of Paymentwall. We're a global monetization product. We basically help companies like Playdom, King.com, and various medium to large size game companies, dating sites to monetize their traffic. So my perspective on cloning is actually a personal perspective that we had with entrepreneurial teachings in Ukraine. So our company is headquartered out of San Francisco, but we have an office in Kiev. Our team is right there, actually. And the way that we use cloning is actually to teach internally how to become an entrepreneur. So we realized that entrepreneurialism is not taught in schools here. There's great universities with a lot of good technical background, but the entrepreneurial culture needs to exist in the society, and it doesn't exist here yet. It's still growing, and we're very hopeful of that. With these conferences happening, I think it'll happen more and more. So what we do is when we hire people, we usually assign them a project for 2 months or so to clone an existing cool company in Silicon Valley. So what they do is they have to start the project and build it for 2 months, launch it, and see if it works.
And how many of those clones have been created by your...
I think we did a lot. So each time a new person joins the team, they have to do a clone on their own.
Wow.
So we did, I think, Twitter, we did Facebook, we did a bunch of stuff. It doesn't mean we're cloning the whole entire product, but the looks of it, the feel of it, the back end of it, the functionality.
So HR cloning department, kind of...
It's not, we're not doing anything with these, it's just to teach them through the whole process, because if you look at the...
It's a really good idea, actually, because it actually teaches people how to iterate quickly. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
A clone incubator.
Well, I wouldn't say that, but that's not our goal. We're a payments company, basically, but that was our solution to teach people how to, create stuff in the same speed as Silicon Valley.
You don't release them as products.
We don't release them.
No, it's just an exercise.
It's just internally.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you allow for additions to the clone, like
Excuse me?
improvements? Do you allow for?
Yes, of course. I think the iteration is part of the process. So if you're an entrepreneur, you have to look at the feedback coming from the users, incorporate that feedback, and release new features and things like that. So we do that internally, and we see how it works. And after that, they join the team and they start taking part in our other projects.
Okay. Let me ask something to the audience, if that's okay. I know that there's a lot of very talented entrepreneurs out there. I haven't met many because I just arrived today. Who is a copycat? I'm not going to ask you more in detail, but could they raise their hands? Okay, I see 2 hands. Okay, who on the basis of anonymity is a copycat? 1 more. Okay, we have 3 copycats in the room. Well, percentage-wise, that's not much. Who would say that their business is a disruptive business from the entrepreneurs? Okay.
Who's
and then
a disruptor?
So it's about 50-50 in the room, but that means that the other 99% of people is either not an entrepreneur, or not a copycat, or not a disruptor. Okay, that doesn't reflect. Mike, could you tell, you are flying as a hawk above everything that happens in the businesses in Europe and elsewhere. What's your feeling? Like, how many percentage-wise, how many copycats would you see appearing from all of them?
It really depends on the size of the market. Excuse me. If you look at a country like Germany, which is very, sort of about German-speaking, is about 90 million people. Germany, Austria, Switzerland. You can do a clone. I mean, as soon as Twitter appeared, there were like 5 Twitter clones in Germany. As soon as Foursquare came out, there were 3 or 4. And if you can so there is a certain level of market that, if the market is big enough and you think that you're big enough to the point where the original company, like Twitter or Foursquare, is going to come along and buy you, then maybe that's an exit strategy. I would hazard that most of the time, most Silicon Valley companies are completely unaware that a European clone exists. They just don't care. They don't care about if there's a European clone or not because they're fairly confident that when they internationalize, they'll be big enough. Now, what's smarter is a European clone, not cloning in Germany or France or Russia, but actually coming up with at least as good, if not better, a product, launching on their home turf first, right? So actually taking the fight back to a big market like the US. A lot smarter. Because by the time you're big in Germany, there's a real big, there's an international site that you've cloned that's many, many times bigger than you are. So that, okay, that might be an exit strategy for you, like the My City deal exit to Groupon. And I think to an extent that was a different kind of a subject. And I think we actually should talk about the My City deal, what My City deal did. Because I have a few views, but I think if you're looking at something like a Twitter or a Foursquare or really much more of a technology clone, then, you know, I don't really know if there's a heck of a lot of point. And most of the time the Americans, if they've come up with a thing, they haven't figured out a business model themselves, let alone the clones. So I don't see where it gets you.
Would you say that Europe is a bit more risk aversive than the Americans?
Europe?
Yeah.
That's a different subject, but yes.
Okay. Elena, you would like to add something to My City deal?
The strategy differs because there are businesses like Groupon where actually most of the business is offline because you need those salespeople coming to restaurants and actually selling. Here, Groupon can't, or at least it's a lot more complicated for them to launch themselves in those countries. So they need, it's a lot easier for them to by the team which is already in the market, with sales team, with contracts, with relationships, with all the marketing channels. And there are purely internet businesses like, which are platforms like Twitter or Facebook. They don't depend on the regions. So here there's practically no sense in making a clone. Because what is Russian Twitter? That's actually nothing, because everyone is still using Twitter as a platform.
How about VKontakte though?
Contact is special because first it was, when it launched, it was a lot, it was more user-friendly, easier to use. Second, they still rely a lot on illegal content, illegal video, music, and they will have to change it in the maximum 1.5 years. They will have to make it legal. So that was an exception.
It's an exception.
VKontakte, it's interesting to see that Facebook is now gradually entering the Russian market. I know this is a little bit off topic, but still, it's VKontakte is in a way a copycat. Very interesting that the shareholders of VKontakte actually bought shares Facebook. Do you think they actually made their money in VKontakte and used that cash to invest in Facebook, or do you not know anything of that?
I don't know, that's the DST strategy. Yes. The only thing I can tell you is that as DST's group and investors, it's really so that they try to find synergies between the companies. It's like Kleine Perkins Fund, Kleine Perkins K-Retsu, when their companies sign deals with each other. So they really try to do the same with Groupon and other companies.
Thanks. Now, could you give some examples of travel business copycats that you've seen? And perhaps also an example of a really disruptive travel business in Europe.
In the beginning, let's say all the travel business in Europe were a copycat of Expedia. So at the end, I think, as I was saying before, it's just a question of timing. And what we were saying, I think the right answer is to be in between. So it's correct to copy whatever is good, but especially in new market, you have to adapt. For example, here you have to pay a lot of attention of all the payment part, because it's very different from Europe. You cannot base a business everything on credit card. And so even if you copy the most successful business in Europe, you have to adapt with a different payment method. To give an example of that copycat can work and should be adapted, for example, the most successful site in the world for hotels is Booking. That is a European startup. Booking.com was
Dutch.
Yeah, that is Dutch. So the point is, why that? Because the structure of European hotel is much different than the structure of the American one. So what was done in US was not working well in Europe. So the point is sometimes it's very good to do copycat because at least you can import I think is a great opportunity because at least you know what work abroad. And so you can import whatever is the best. But then, as he was saying, it doesn't mean that you have only to copy, because maybe there is something that is, let's say, peculiar of that market, that you invent a new business model, because here is better. That the future will tell us.
Okay. Well, Mike,
well,
shall we get to your topic?
I mean, I think it does depend on the copycats. I mean, not entirely. I mean, I'm generally against copycats because I think they're shit. And
does it kill innovation?
A bullshit sort of strategy, and lazy, just really damn lazy, you know. So, and you guys are better than that. We're just better than that in Europe. We don't have to be copycats. But anyway, I'll shut up for a second. But I think the Groupon example was interesting because here was a business model invented in Europe, vente privée. One of the, I mean, turning over 600 million euros in its second year of revenue, which was basically copycatted by Groupon. And then they got really big in the US, and then suddenly the Samware brothers at European Founders Fund went, hello, this is good. And they staffed up, apparently the hiring policy at My City Deal was about 10 minutes. Every interview lasted about 10 minutes. Can you use a phone? Yes, you're hired. And basically,
well, it was
okay, it wasn't that bad, but
anyway,
that would not take 10 minutes.
Close. But you got ended up with about 600 staff across Europe in about 3 months.
It's more, yeah.
I mean, huge amounts of staff, and that's kind of what Groupon bought. Was they bought this massive operation across Europe.
In 140 cities in 3 months. That was crazy.
Exactly,
so
146
no one can
cities.
scale that fast.
Very, and I think out of Europe. Only the Samware brothers and the European Founders Fund can do that kind of thing because those guys run an extremely efficient operation. I mean, they are basically a photocopier, is their entire business model. So, and they're really good at it, you know. And I'm not doing them down for that. They are good at what they do. I think that what you want to think about is where are we going to be in 10 years' time? If all we've done is this copycat strategy in 10 years' time, where's the innovation? Where's the thinking? Where are the next generation of entrepreneurs going to get their inspiration from? And what's exciting to me...
Yeah.
Okay, I'll shut up.
I can answer the question. They are trying, because as AddVenture Fund, we see 1,000 deals per year, and 99% of them are unique, but they're unique bullshit. Because all the... best companies.
But that's your job. Your job is to invest in 100 to get a home run to invest in one.
Exactly. My job is to choose, but their job is to read TechCrunch, to read other analytics, and to come with good business ideas. At the moment, they just can't do this. So they bring projects like social networks for dogs. That's a real company which we're looking at. That's nonsense.
Dogster actually does quite well in America, but
not Dogster, Dog-and-4.info.
but then I think the other thing. So it sounds to me like your argument is that go away, do a clone, get better, and then come back with an original idea.
Yes,
is that your idea?
Yes, because the next do a clone, learn, and then launch something unique. The next company I'm doing is global, and it's.
But then you keep launching. But then there's no investment in. There's no incentive on the part of an entrepreneur to do something innovative if all the VCs and all the angels are investing in copycats.
But that's rational. As investors, they're responsible for the money they took from LPs, so they need to look at. They need to lower the risks wherever possible.
Now, if we zoom out, right?
Are you in venture or are you in banking?
Both.
A lot of us are probably already in the online sphere for a long time, and maybe sometimes we forget that there's also a big part of the globe that has had less impact from the internet than we thought. Maybe the whole copycat thing is an initial phase of acceleration where we manage to quickly get the good ideas via various carriers out in the world, and then maybe on the shoulders of the copycats, new innovations on top can evolve faster because of the paving of the way by the copycats. A bit more specific, we could say, well, a Groupon, possibly once everybody is used to the idea, some person can say, well, wait a second, I have an idea that is similar to Groupon, but it's twice as good because of this and this and this. And that's maybe where the innovation starts, because the playing field has been leveled first. Could that be something worth thinking of?
Well, I think, I mean, there are entrepreneurs who will do a copycat on this side and then do something innovative on this side. And to an extent, that's quite a legitimate strategy. I mean, you know, if you're doing a copycat and you can see a very extremely sort of obvious exit route, you know, big American player is coming in, or there's a media company who wants to buy this company, or you're just getting faster than the other guys, fine. Okay, but over here, you've got to do something innovative as well. And my concern is that if we concentrate so much on the copycat model, then the innovation will wither and die, the investors will not put money in innovation, the real innovators will leave Europe and go to big markets where the venture really does want to take risk, you know, and they'll go to the US or they'll go to Asia, wherever they want to go, where the real innovators then actually do the real big Skype, eBay, Yahoo, Google, Twitter style deals.
Yeah, please.
I think that a big difference also in the less developed country is the mobile phones. So US is not at all a leading country for mobile. And this, I think, is there is a huge opportunity in all the Asian, or let's say the country that arrive later with technology, to develop service for mobile phone. Even not internet mobile, but even SMS mobile, I mean. And on that, there is nothing to copy. Because, I mean, there is something maybe in Europe, but the model is not at all US, because they are not on the edge. So, as you're saying, a country developing a different way, and technology is not only PC or whatever, but mobile will, I think in the next year, will be very, very important in many countries, in South America, in Africa, India, to develop a new service through mobile, and there is a lot of space to invent something new on that.
One vivid example is, of course, the mobile payment service in Africa, M-Pesa.
But I think it's, I'm going to disagree with you. I think that the US is extremely competitive on the mobile scene now. I mean, look at the iPhone. I mean, completely changed the scene. And the growth of Android is astronomical.
It's not a question of signal. If you look, for example, in Italy, we have 100 million of mobile lines out of 60 million of people, and only 20 million of people connecting on the web. In US, it's much more people connecting on the web that have a mobile. If you go to Africa, South America, other country, you have more mobile lines than web connection. So not all the country have the same pattern.
So name me an innovative mobile company, a startup in Italy.
There's Buongiorno, but that's the same as Jamba, isn't it?
Well, these tends to be sort of SMS marketing kind of companies.
Yeah.
I mean, my problem is that I think actually, I do agree with it. The mobile scene in Europe is ripe for innovation in the mobile world, because Europeans are inherently mobile users, much more almost than laptop, and SMS has gone through the roof. But we need to get away from the whole SMS thing. I mean, this is a carrier-oriented model. There's no real way forward for entrepreneurs or startups in that model. So what the real model for them is to effectively try and get the carriers effectively out of the picture, turn them into the dumb pipes that they need to be, and innovate on the platforms. And you know, you at that point, basically, you're talking Nokia, you're talking Android, you're talking Yahoo, iPhone, of course. So those
Not Symbian?
Sorry?
Symbian?
No, not Symbian. Symbian's shit. It's over. Symbian is over. Don't stop developing Symbian.
Okay. Let's see what the other people in the room that have something to say to all these vivid statements, or questions to the panel.
One over there.
I see a hand over there. Could we get a microphone to the back? Can you please tell me?
Hello.
We can hear you.
It's work? Yeah. Hello, hello. Hi, my name is Vitaly. I'm Ukrainian, and from my private Ukrainian point of view, staff who works in copy-paste projects does not has no soul.
But we have money.
What do you think about this? No soul, no soul.
You can have soul or money.
What do you mean by
What do you want?
soul? Well, first they have international experience. That's really useful because we at Groupon we have
soul. It's not about money. From Ukrainian, soul is not about money.
Is it about passion?
Okay, then you're probably at the wrong conference. Well, because we're speaking about business experience. We at Groupon see what's happening in Brazil, what's happening in Japan, how those international business processes how they built. So this is useful. This is useful for our next startups too. And second, well, we see where money is. So that's rational. Well,
I think that's a very good point. But you can actually have soul and money if you innovate.
Yeah.
Right? If you do something really cool, like in the face. Have you seen The Social Network, the movie? When Zuckerberg says we don't want to put ads on it because we want it to be cool. That means it's that cool that everybody wants to use Facebook. And that's the point that he made. He made something very innovative and very cool, and everybody wanted to join it. So you can have money and be cool and have your soul as well. Yeah.
So cool and money. All right. A last question, because we're already running out of time. I see someone on the front row. Would you like to come up, or considering you're that close, or do you have a mic?
Do you hear me? Hello, colleagues. Could you please make your recommendations? How do you estimate the potential of making copycat of Russian project, Russian language project, particularly in Ukraine? So translating it in another language, but making copycat of Russian to Ukraine.
I think I'll answer the question because I've been observing the Ukrainian market for the past 6 years. What I see is that there's like separation between the Western countries, United States, and the Russian internet, which you guys call Runet. So I think the separation has happening because of Cyrillic versus Latin alphabet and so on. And what happens is when you launch a project in Russia, it propagates within the Russian language sphere, which is all the CIS countries. And then it also propagates to Ukraine because there's obviously a big cultural influence over Ukraine from Russia. So the projects from Russia are usually also successful in Ukraine, or they're heard of in Ukraine. But if you try to do vice versa, or if you try to build a company in Ukraine, it's probably gonna get crushed by the Russian clone, if there's one. So I think Elena can answer the question. Probably Darberry would be popular in Ukraine also if they launched it.
We have already we're already in Ukraine and Kyiv,
Yes.
and we'll be launching in other cities. Actually, answering the question, the concern is market size. So maybe you should really launch a project to all the Russian-speaking countries, and maybe it shall even be a European company. So.
Okay. Well, this was the end of it for this part. So thanks everyone for joining the panel, and I'll pass it on to you.
Thank you.
Cool.
Well, anyway, good job, guys. Very good. Very good. What we're going to do now is have one of the panelists who just spoke to you, and I believe you will find him even more interesting when he has a chance to give you a small, more directed piece of his mind. We're going to ask Mike Butcher to return to the stage when he is available. Mike, are you there? Mike, hi there. Okay, Mike is going to give you a little piece of his mind for a few minutes, and then he is going to be the kind moderator of the next panel. So may I please, well, now he's leaving, so who knows where he's going. There he is. He's coming back. Well, may I please introduce Mike Butcher, and let's listen to what he has to say.